In this tutorial, I'll show you how to use Blend for Web to control a stickman rig in a web browser. You can use a gamepad or the keyboard to control the character. When I press the up arrow, the character moves forwards. When I press the down arrow, back, and you can turn to the left and to the right. The starting point for this tutorial is the file made in the Stickman walk cycle tutorial. You can download the file from my website, or you can follow the tutorials and make the rig yourself. The character moves in the Y direction while the walk cycle is repeated. I only want the walk cycle, so I'm going to remove the keyframes on the Y location. Click on the Object Properties button, right click on the location and clear keyframes. Set the Y location to 0 and set the total length of the animation to 20 frames. I want to edit the walk cycle, change the view to the right view and zoom in with the mouse wheel. Go into pose mode and turn X-ray on. Select the lower leg bone and drag with the mouse to go into move mode. Release and click to exit move mode. The front leg was too far forward and the back leg needs to go back a bit. Select the lower leg bone, drag, release and click. And I want to put more bend in the arm. Release and click. Select the root bone, press G for grab, Z for the Z axis, and move the rig down so that his feet are touching the ground. The changes to the pose are not saved until the keyframe is overwritten. Press A twice to select all. Keyframes insert whole character. For a simple walk cycle, there are only 2 poses, but I need to copy the pose and paste it into other positions. Go to frame 10 and paste X flipped. And don't forget, the pose is not saved until the keyframe is overwritten. Go to frame 20. Paste in the edited pose and overwrite the keyframe. Go to frame 5, select the non-weight bearing leg and drag to lift it off the ground. Press A twice to select all and insert whole character to overwrite the keyframe. In the pose menu, copy the pose and go to frame 15 and paste X flipped and overwrite the keyframe. I'm going to simplify the name of the action to walk. Change Blender Render to Blend for Web and in the Render Properties click Set Recommended Options. In the code that we are going to use to control the character, there is a function that constrains the camera to track the character. For the code to work, we have to change the camera move style. In the outliner window, select the camera, click its object data properties and set the camera move style to static. If the camera always points at the character, we need to add some background to see that it is moving. In the Add menu, Mesh, Circle. Change the number of vertices to 16, the radius to 8.5 and the fill type to N-Gone. The Blender file is now ready to use. Next we need to make a Blend for Web project. Click the Render button and click Project Manager. Click Hide Stock Projects and Create New Project. Call the project My Stickman. Scroll down and click Create Project. And back to Projects. Scrolling down, we need to overwrite the Blender file and use the Blender file to overwrite the JSON file. Going back to the Blender file, File, Save As, go to the Blend for Web folder, the Projects folder, My Stickman, Blender, select the file and click Save As to overwrite it. To overwrite the JSON file, File, Export, Blend for Web JSON, make sure you're in the Projects Stickman Assets folder, make sure you're overwriting the JSON file and click Export. Going back to Project Manager and clicking the link for the HTML file, we get the Stickman scene but with no controls and no animation. Clicking the Edit link and opening the JavaScript file, the .js file, we see the code that you get with a new project. We need to add extra code or replace this code with code that will control the Stickman rig. Blend for Web provide example code snippets. There is a code snippet that controls a character rig. In Blender, open the Blend for Web SDK index and click the link for code snippets. Click the Gamepad code snippet and click View Code. I'm using Firefox web browser on a Windows system. To copy the code, right-click Select All, right-click Copy, go back to Project Manager, right-click Select All, and right-click and Paste will overwrite the code with the code snippet. Scroll down and save. Scrolling up, there are a few changes that we need to make so that the code snippet will work with the Stickman rig. The Assets folder where the JSON file is stored must be changed to My Stickman. And the name of the JSON file must be changed. I'm going to copy and paste. The name of the character rig and the name of the walk action must match the Blender file. I'm going to change the name of the walk action to match the Blender file. Because the name of the rig is used throughout the script, I think it's easier to change it in the Blender file. Copy it, go back to Blender, select the armature, click its object properties, highlight the name, Ctrl and V to paste. And I'm going to change the starting position of the camera. In the View menu, Camera, select the camera, press G for grab, Z for the Z axis, and Z for Z local, and move the mouse to move the camera back. Exporting will update the Blender file and the JSON file. Export. Now comes the interesting part. Back in Project Manager, we need to save the changes. Go back to Projects and click the HTML link and see if it all works. Pressing the arrow keys, our Stickman walks around the scene. Going back to the JavaScript file, there are some settings near the beginning of the snippet that usually need adjusting. The step affects how quickly the character moves forward. I'm going to change the value to 2.5. The anim speed affects how quickly the walk cycle is played. I'm going to change the value to 2. And the collision radius affects how far the character can walk from the center of the scene. I'm going to set the value to 8. Saving the changes and reloading the scene, the stickman now walks to the edge of the circle. That's the end of the tutorial. I'll put the files used in the tutorial for you to download at my website. To visit my website, click the eye icon in the top right hand corner. If you'd like to subscribe, click the stickman. If you'd like to sponsor my tutorials, click the Patreon link. Thanks for watching and goodbye.